I am Father Steve Katsouris. I am the Dean and Executive Director of Arrupe College, and I'm looking forward to this day with my colleague, the Dean of the Quinlan School of Business, Kevin Stevens. Kevin and I have been conspiring about this now for a while, and so it's terrific to see that this has come to pass. Welcome to all of the students of Arrupe College and also to our esteemed panelists. I look forward to hearing more from you and about you in just a few minutes. Arrupe students who were at our town hall at the beginning of this month may recall that we talked a little bit about how we are in a transition. So as Loyola University's newest college, we're about to double in size. We're getting ready to onboard the next freshman class. And so that's a big transition for our community. We're also adding an assistant dean for student success. We're adding several new faculty positions. And we're also adding a college placement director. Now, I'm emphasizing that last title because that person, Ms. Julie Garcia, will be very instrumental, members of the Arrupe community, in your transition. So you're transitioning now. You know, you've got 2 more classes this summer. Many of you are taking microeconomics. I am praying for you that you get through that class. And there are a lot of folks in here who can tutor you, so don't be bashful. Ask for help from the Quinlan School of Business. But you're transitioning from first year, from freshman year, from our inaugural year of existence into your sophomore year. So the stakes are getting higher as you anticipate what's next. And this panel is about what's next, a possible pathway. A number of you are considering, you know, okay, well, will I be going on to Loyola University or to another 4-year college or work, or what kind of work, what kind of major? I mean, I'm already registered to be in the associate's program for business or for social sciences or for arts and humanities. But Dean Stevens and I feel like the more you have exposure to folks like our panelists, and the more you think about, all right, well, that's interesting. That makes sense to me. What she said aligns with how I feel, or that really resonates with me, or I want to ask him more about that. We from Quinlan, and also from Arrupe, and from Loyola University want to provide you with these opportunities. So again, welcome to all. I want to say thank you particularly to our colleagues from Quinlan School of Business. You know, we were neighbors this time last year. We were in the same building at McGuire, and it's great being in your space here today. So thank you for the warm welcome to us, and thank you for this opportunity for Arrupe students.
Thanks, Father. I appreciate it. And welcome to all the students from Arrupe. I'm Kevin Stevens. I'm the Dean of the Quinlan School of Business. I'm from Chicago. I'm one of 12 children. My father didn't finish high school. My mother went back to college when she was 40 years old and became a teacher in the Chicago public school system on the west side. It took me 9 years to finish my undergraduate degree. I hope that does not happen to you. You should get done sooner. You are more than welcome here. We think that Arrupe is the best thing going in higher education, and Father Steve is the best job in America in higher education. I'd like to introduce our panel. I really appreciate you taking your time to come visit us. On the far right, Gonzalo Borge, an MBA student at Quinlan, majoring in marketing. Next to him is Leroy Chalmers, a Quinlan graduate and the executive director of the Greater Roseland West Pullman Food Network. Isela Diaz, an MBA student at Quinlan, majoring in marketing, interning at a local Chicago startup, and a research assistant in the marketing department here. Nicole Lawrence, an MBA student at Quinlan, majoring in marketing and international business. Jasmine Shells is a graduate of the University of Notre Dame, for which we forgive her, and the CEO and founder of 5 to 9. And Flor Torres is a Quinlan graduate and an associate in client service at Evanston Capital Management. So please welcome the panel. So I have a series of questions to ask, and then I'm going to have to leave at 1:30 because my life is mostly going to meetings. So I'm going to a meeting with the chancellor of the university, but I could not pass up this opportunity. So panel, any one of you could chime in, but I'm going to start with Leroy, I think. With 11 brothers and sisters, I don't believe the microphone, right? We learn how to speak. So Leroy, tell us about what your day-to-day life is like. What's a typical day for you? And how did you know that you wanted to be in business as opposed to some other field?
Oh. Okay. So I guess I'll start with how did I know I wanted to be in business, right? So I guess it all started years ago. I guess it really got down to I answered an ad in the paper, okay, about 24 years ago. I answered an ad in the paper. They were looking for brokers, stockbrokers, and went in, answered the ad, had an interview. I had to sit and take the Series 7 exam, but it was something that always interested me as far as financial services and the financial markets. And you know, I was fortunate to get hired, and it really, I want to say, changed the course of my life as far as finding a career that I enjoyed until I began to pursue a new career.
And the audience should know that we will have time for the student staff questions as well. So my next question is for Jasmine. What's the favorite thing about your job? What's the worst thing about your job?
So this is what I would say. So first, I have a question for you guys. Who in here is like interested in starting their own business? Maybe one day. All right, so some of you raised your hands, some of you didn't raise your hands. For the ones who didn't, I bet one day you'll think of something that you could do where you could start something on your own. So what I really love about what I do, about having my own startup and my own company, is that it's something that I created. It was an idea that I had, and I get to see it grow from nothing to something. What's really hard about it is, as you're a startup, you don't have all the resources that you need. Everything depends on you. So that can be very hard versus if, you know, you only have one job where you don't, that's all you have to focus on, that's all you have to worry about. So I'll say the responsibility part can be both a blessing and a curse. So that's something I would say that I love, and something that's not so great as well.
We just joined a partnership with a group called Future Entrepreneurs. And what they will do is, if you already are in a business, they will put you in touch with people like Jasmine. If you want to be an entrepreneur but you don't know what you want to do, they will provide you with ideas. They will filter out ideas and say, think about this or think about that. So it's part of the services we offer here at Quinlan. Laura, let me ask you, how did you know you belonged in a business school program? And what courses were most helpful to you?
I'm first generation, first of all, and I am definitely someone who has a plan, right? Every day I have a checklist that all of my colleagues will say that I follow pretty much to the line, unless there's something that comes up. I knew that I really wanted to be in business by what my father, who is an entrepreneur, being able to run his own business and do so successfully. And in undergrad, I have to say that the fundamentals of accounting, economics, and finance were the most helpful, but definitely accounting. Accounting is something that if you have that in your toolkit and you can understand, you can really do anything that you want in the business world.
I'm an accounting professor, I told you. That's absolutely true. That if you are in accounting, those skills will take you a long way. Nicole? Who have been your mentors and advisors in your career, and how did you find those mentors?
I can say for me, I have been very blessed in the realm of being able to find good mentors. I would have to say that it definitely started early off in my corporate career, that being a young person starting in, that I would seek out those who were older than me, those who had been there for 10, 20 years, and just ask them questions. And they were always very receptive to that. Most recently, I have been able to find a wonderful mentor within the marketing community who has a wealth of experience. So being able to go out and network identify people who are in an area that you want to be in, seek out those resources and talk to them, has been a profound experience. So as you go through and talk to people, ask them questions, because you will be very surprised as to how receptive people are to you. So just ask.
Yeah. We are starting a course here in Quinlan next year. Part of the course is learning how to use how to write a great resume, interview skills. But the other part of the course is providing each student with a mentor from the business community, which I think is going to be invaluable. Right? Gonzalo, let me ask you this. Can you identify an obstacle or challenge that you encountered during your career, either at work or at school, and how you overcame it?
Yeah, sure. Actually, there are many obstacles. At any place you go, at any time of your life, you will always find many obstacles to achieve. And actually, when I first get here, I'm coming from Venezuela, from South America. My main language is Spanish, so I had to improve my English. I'm improving my English now, so yeah, that was one of my obstacles here. But actually, I have a common obstacle for the business student in the business community, is that we are getting into a new community and into a new business school. So to be, to switch your head or your mind, sorry, and just try to be nice and get involved in your community and meet people and, ask questions is definitely one of the, of the challenges of being here. So I will say that, yeah, we have to take advantage of that. As Nicole said, we are in a community where people is willing to help, where people like to help. So we don't have to feel afraid of approaching and make questions and, ask for classes or, ask about experiences. Something that can help you is the most important information you can get. Yeah.
Thank you. And I'm going to ask Isela and then ask each of you to think about this question, because I think it really speaks to the heart of why we are here. What are one or two pieces of advice that you would give to students of color that are interested in pursuing a career in business? If you could all think about that, I'm very, very curious.
There are a lot of advices I could give you. But first off, believe in yourself. We're talking a little bit about the obstacles. I'm not from here either. I'm from Panama. When I first came here to do my undergrad, a lot of people thought that because I was a woman and because I was Latin, I was not gonna make it. I was not smart enough. And I had to prove myself, but I had to do it because I couldn't let someone else make me feel inferior. So believe in yourself. Don't let anyone make you feel like you came here on a free ticket ride. You can do it, just as everyone can. Another would be, if you start something, you start a career, and you feel like you don't like it, it's not what you love or whatnot, try to talk to people, reach out, as we have all said. Everyone here in this community is so willing to talk to you, to help you, to guide you. Don't be afraid to jump off that ship if you don't like it, because it's better to do, well, if you think it's a waste of time, it's not. Everything is a learning experience, but it's better to jump out of something you don't really feel you're passionate about than doing something you don't like for the rest of your life.
Leroy?
So I would say this. As you're deciding, as you're going, through this process, through this learning process, and you're deciding, and you think about your career, I guess I want to key in on a term, and that is, it's about pursuing your career, right? We hear about pursuing your career. This is just the first step in it, because it's something that is you have to be proactive about. You have to constantly learn. You have to constantly read. What you learn here in these classes, once you get your degree, it does not stop. You have to keep learning. You have to keep seeking out knowledge. You have to stay relevant in the business community, because things change constantly, they change. So you have to stay on your A game. You know, you have to be up to date on what's going on. So a good piece of advice that I took early on in my career is that you spend 20 minutes every day learning about your craft. Whatever it is you do, you spend 20 minutes each day learning about it, whether it's a book, whether it's a magazine. It doesn't necessarily have to be directly related to accounting, but it has to be related to something in business or something that you do so you can stay fresh and you can stay relevant. Because what will happen eventually is that there are going to be new ideas that come along, and you need to be competitive and be abreast of those ideas that come along in business. And also by becoming what I call a lifelong learner. So you're always seeking out knowledge, always seeking out to learn more about your craft, about your skill. It allows you to be flexible so that when industry trends change or opportunities in the marketplace change, you're able to take advantage of them and not be left behind on the sideline.
Thank you. Jasmine?
Yeah, so one quick comment on that. So I worked at Ernst & Young for a couple years, accounting major, ended up going to IT consulting there. And a lot of the mentors that I had at EY, one thing that they told me that I just thought was like, yes, this makes so much sense, is a lot of times I think people we hang out with who we're the most comfortable with, right? So even in your teams, what I found that, you know, I would hang out with my coworkers like while I was at work, but on the weekends I wanted to hang out with my friends, right? But a lot of my coworkers were also friends outside of work, so they would always hang out on the weekends. So I found myself kind of in between a rock and a hard place where I kind of wanted to do things that I enjoyed. I wanted to go out and kind of like have fun that I'm used to having, right? But you have to find a balance to make sure that you're still networking kind of outside of work, because that's a lot of times how people choose who's going to go on the next project, who's going to get that opportunity to go abroad or whatever it may be. So I would say like definitely find that balance and make sure that you're still having time with your friends, but make sure that you're still having fun and going out with your team and your coworkers too, even outside of the workplace. So networking is both in the building and outside of it.
Thank you. That's so true. That's where the jobs come from and the opportunities. That's just the way it is.
It is. It really is.
Nicole?
I would say that for those who are interested in business, stick with it. If that's what you want to do and that's what your passion is, then do it. There's no reason why you can't. As long as you have that inner drive that that's what you want to do, you can do it. Just as many as there may be people who say no, there's going to be twice as many people who say yes. And then for every no, there's going to be 10 yeses. And then once you achieve it, then those people who were saying no from the get-go, they're going to be like, wow, you really did it. So you can do it. One thing I would say too about business is that it's so diverse. Within the discipline, there's accounting and marketing and finance, and a lot of you raised your hands in the sense that you may be interested in being an entrepreneur. From a business perspective, you already know a lot of entrepreneurs, whether that's your hair salons, your barbershop owners, your local grocery stores. Those are all business people. So that is a career in which that you can be diversified to go into. So whether that's on the entrepreneurship arm or the corporate arm, you have it, and it's just your oyster, so I would say go with it.
Thank you. Fleur?
I would have to say that being in the finance industry, I think one thing that will really resonate with me and I'll carry throughout my career is a piece of advice I received from now a mentor. He said, you're really the driver as to what your future holds. So think about yourself as you're selling yourself when you're networking, when you're talking to so many people. You also need a little board of your own mentors, whether it be someone who is in marketing, someone who's in finance, someone who maybe is more knowledgeable in human resources. Really expand, and I call it my little sounding board. I recently went through a career transition from a very quant-heavy position to a more client-facing, consultant-facing position where I still leverage my quant skills. But that's one thing that I would recommend, and a piece of advice that is look at your professors. I keep in touch with most of my professors at Quinlan, and it's amazing to see how quickly you can build your network and really overcome the obstacles of whether it be not being the first one in your family to go to college and not really having a lot of people that you know in the industry. And again, being in finance, it's known, or it's becoming more of a good balance between men and female, but really standing your own, being confident and setting goals for yourself, that's really how you're going to achieve the larger goal, which is to succeed.
If I build off what Laura just said, the faculty here, I'm surprised at how seldom students come to them. If you come knock on a faculty member's door here and say, I want some advice about something, not a grade, I'm not talking about class, but here's what I want to do. That's the best part of the job, is when a student walks in and says, I would like to talk to you one-on-one. Not so much student to teacher, but as a professional colleague. So I would really encourage you to take advantage of that opportunity while you're at Arrupe to come over here. I'm going to ask one more question and then turn over to Father Steve, because entrepreneurship is a big deal. And I know you're interning now at a startup company?
Yes.
Can you tell us what that's like? And
Well, I'm interning at a startup. It started here in Chicago, and she's also an MBA grad student. It's a really, really fun experience since I'm also interested in entrepreneurship, and I'm currently working on something back home. It's interesting because it allows you to see different aspects of business that you might not see in school. I've had experience in branding, but right now I'm seeing marketing, sales, how do you get the product out there, things that I haven't done before. It's completely hands-on experience. It's like if you're playing a game, but in real life, and it's actually that way, and it's really, really fun, and even more if you enjoy what you're doing. I love marketing, it's my passion, and I love products. So working with a product, real life, and doing everything that it entails to have it out there, to reach out to people, it's an amazing experience. Although some people did mention working in a startup was a little bit complicated because it's not structured like in the corporate world, but it's a completely different lens on seeing things, and if anyone is able to do it, I would really encourage you to do it.
And let me follow up with Gonzalo to ask the original question about being a person of color from a different country. What advice would you give to people who are on the audience who are in the position you used to be in?
Yeah, sure. Well, one advice could be believe in yourself. There is a time when you have to forget about where you're coming from, or about any kind of differences, or about where your competition is coming from. You have to believe in yourself and believe in your skills. And in order to achieve that, you have to follow your passion. So if you are not doing what you really want to do and what motivates you to get up in the morning and work hard, so you can be confident. So yeah, that would be my first advice for you guys. So believe in yourself. Don't be afraid to approach and to gather with people that provide you positive things. I mean, so if you gather with someone who is giving you just negative energies or bad ideas, or feel in your head about you can do that because you are coming from any place, or you don't have any skills, don't gather with them. Just find people who give you positive things and help you to be a better professional person in the future.
That's really well put. A lot of haters out there.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry for having to leave, but
Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Kevin. So for Arrupe students, I want you to be thinking about any reactions or questions that you have for the panel. But before I turn the microphone over to you and your responses, and again, any inquiries that you might have, I want to say to the panel, so these young women and men that you see in front of you they're our inaugural class. They're pioneers with us. In many ways, they're very entrepreneurial. This was a risk. Loyola's been around since 1870. Arrupe's been around for a year. So they're the very first group to do this. We're in classes year-round, so they just began another session of classes June the 6th. They're in class until July the 29th, and we start up again. Their sophomore year begins on August the 29th. So, you know, I'm always trying to think about being strategic and how to best use my time. They're rising sophomores. They're taking poli-sci and theology and philosophy and psychology and statistics. They're doing the core for Loyola University, the same courses that, you know, students at Lakeshore and elsewhere take, as well as 5 electives. So, you know, how can they spend this summer and next year really productively as they transition into their junior year, into the next part of their lives? Any reactions to that?
Oh, I can take this one. Something that's really helpful for me, since I did an undergrad in engineering that some people say has nothing to do with business. They're completely wrong, by the way. But what I did and how I discovered my love for marketing was reading. Take any book of something you're interested in and try reading. Try reading articles of anything that you think might interest you, so that you can try to see if that's something you would want to do afterwards, so that you can allocate your classes whenever you go into business school or not afterwards.
Yeah, and just kind of piggybacking off of what you said, and something you said earlier that I really agree with, is just like talk to as many people as you can. Like, I graduated from as an accountant, I ended up working in like IT consulting, and then I moved over into like startup, you know, entrepreneurship. So I mean, you might be studying one thing right now, you might think, oh, this is exactly what I want to do in my life. But you might find out that it's not. So just try everything, talk to everyone, and you'll find like where you want to end up ultimately. There is no like right answer right away.
So I'm going to say, you know, take advantage of the electives that are out there. Take advantage of looking at different careers, different opportunities, different classes while you have it. Myself, I'm considered a career changer at this stage in life because I spent 20 years in financial services, and now I'm doing non-for-profit work. My wife, she's a career changer. She spent 20 years in financial services also, and now she's doing non-for-profit work. So I guess I found the right person. but one of the things is that, you know, what I found is that while I had a passion for that career, I have a passion just as much for this career. My wife as well. So I just want to say there, you might be set on thinking that this is the path for you right now, and it very well may be. I think you'll find that as you get older, paths change. You know, roads bend, roads turn. You start down something else. But while you have the time now and the advantage, look at what else is out there. You know, it may be something that some years later you might get drawn to just because of a class that you took at some point. But broaden your horizon. You know, see what else is out there. See what else they have to offer you, and what other classes, just like taking the engineering class. You know, there's a lot around groupthink, and I think there can be a lot around institutional think. And I've seen it where, you know, people in banking think one way, people in not-for-profit think one way, people in marketing think one way. And, you know, you have to break yourself from that type of thinking to really be able to make a difference, to stand out, and to be relevant. So, and the only way to really do that is to seek out different things that's outside of your comfort zone. So take advantage of it over the summer.
And one thing I would just quickly add to that is that within the core classes that you're taking now, take that little opportunity to do a little Google research, and is that a field or information within that field? So let's say you're taking a psychology class, so then look at the Psychology Today magazines, because even within that, that'll give you a larger breadth of, and it can make your class more real, because sometimes when you're theorizing and you're learning the theory, sometimes you may have a hard time making that a practical application as far as career development later, that's a good tool that you can use. Because even within psychology, there are marketing. So marketing uses psychology a lot in order to determine consumer behavior. So that's another opportunity. For me specifically, I was a chemistry major and I came out of the chemical field. So going into marketing now, looking at technical marketing campaigns, that for me is what merges the two together.
And I think just to add to all of this, if you really want to be in business, turn on CNBC, read the Wall Street Journal. If you really want to understand what's going on and if you think that you belong in business because you really feel that and that's what your gut is telling you, that very well may be the case, but you really have to understand what you're getting yourself into. Nobody really does when they go ahead and, at least for me, when I obtained my first internship as a sophomore as in a marketing client service role, I took a leap of faith in myself as well as in the financial industry. I became very much more acquainted with Wall Street Journal, what was going on with the markets, more or less with a global perspective. I think that not having fear to potentially fail is the best thing and best piece of advice that I can give you, as well as really increasing your knowledge in whatever area you want to do. For me, as I mentioned earlier, I had a career change because yes, I love numbers, but I didn't want to be crunching numbers, looking at multiple Excel spreadsheets with Bloomberg screens and multiple monitors. I wanted to have that interface and really communication with other people in my network and really expand my network. So asking questions, reading about what you're interested in. If you don't have that passion or that drive, and if you don't have the willingness to really fail when jumping at an opportunity, you really won't really capture in my personal opinion, your full potential.
Are there other soft skills like that you might advise them to develop during their time with us at Arrupe and beyond?
So I'm going to say, so the biggest soft skill, so I guess I'll show my generational difference here. The biggest soft skill that you need in business, one of the biggest, is be able to talk to people. You've got to be able to talk to people. You've got to be able to have conversations. Texting doesn't work. It doesn't. Emails do not work. You can't close that deal because at the end of the day, and I always told my staff this, when you're dealing in business, business is based off of relationships. The deal, whatever you're doing, even if you need to get something done from one of your colleagues, it's based off of relationship. And you have to have face-to-face time with that person to build that relationship. So, the soft skills of, and it's going to help you even more when you start to move up the career chain and move in that management. Because as you move into management, it's less about you knowing kind of the technical piece of your job and more about knowing how to manage the people. And everybody's different, right? So all management is different. So really learning the soft skills of how to talk to people, relate to people, and make people feel comfortable with you.
Can I add something? Yeah. Well, in order to add some ideas about what Roy was telling you guys, work on another piece of advice. So in order to meet people, you have to contact the right people. And to talk to people, you have to, contact them and approach them. So I would advise you guys to start working on your LinkedIn profile if you don't have one. So start, working on it. So try to be a serious professional. If you want to be the best professional in the future, any field, psychology, social work, business, try to project that image from you. So I know that, sometimes we want to post on Facebook like the most funny, the funniest picture of us like drinking the party or doing whatever crazy thing it is. But at the end, when you are looking for opportunities and where you're looking to succeed in your career, the people who is able to give you that opportunity will evaluate your behavior. And we are in a digital area, and a digital time. So your future boss won't hesitate to go into Facebook and check your profile and check your LinkedIn profile and, hey, let's realize what Gonzalo is doing during the weekend, or how Gonzalo spent his time. So I cannot, as an advice, I can tell you guys that work on your LinkedIn profile, try to reach people, interesting people, and try to talk to them and, start to, develop your network in that way.
Yeah, sure. So I just kind of wanted to give like a little tip off of what Leroy said about just talking to people. One thing that one of my mentors at Ernst & Young told me that I thought was like absolutely fantastic was he said, you're going to meet a ton of people in the business world, right? Always make sure you have like a notepad to actually write down like what you're meeting about, what they're saying to you, because if you go into a meeting not prepared, they tell you to do something, you don't write it down, then you come back and say, wait, what was that again? Looks bad. Do not, I did that as a staff when I was at EY. Do not do that. Another thing that I thought was really interesting that he did was when he had meetings with people, different people that were his mentors or just people he met when he was networking, he had this spreadsheet, which seems like kind of like very specific, but he had a spreadsheet with their names and just small details about them, like birthdays, like their kids' names. You're not going to remember all that stuff, but think about how much that means to someone when you remember their kids' names or their birthdays. So those are just little tips that will definitely take you over the edge and give you an advantage over other people you're working with.
Yeah, I was going to say the name thing as well. I had one of my bosses had a notepad that put, when we were on a table in a conference, he would write the name in order so he could learn them. I learned that from when I was a really small kid. As I grew up, it was hard to catch up because you meet so many people in events, but that is so important to say hi and tell the person the name. That person will remember you, I promise. Also, be flexible. When you're out there, you need to be flexible. Projects change, things change, and just because you think it should go one way, it doesn't mean that it can be seen in another way. Mm-hmm. If you want to have your own company or anything in the future, you have to learn to be flexible when you're in the workplace as well. That's really, really important. People that have closed minds have a really, really hard time afterwards.
So at this point, as I said to you a moment ago, I hope you're thinking of questions and reactions to what we've heard. Ms. Murphy-Stockton has a mic in the back. This one is in my hands up here up front. So any questions or responses to what any of our panelists have said so far? Okay, David.
My question goes from what Leroy said about earlier about broadening your horizons and getting out of your comfort zone. I have a question for Nicole on how does she find herself as a vice president of communication coming off her degree on chemistry?
I'd say it's strategy, because when you, plus passion, but part of it has to do with strategy in the sense that when you start your educational career, as you are now, you think about, well, where do I need to go? What skills do I need? And then what best avenue am I going to meet those people? So me having a chemistry degree, I've worked in the business world, but what was missing for me was that interaction with the people. It was the interaction with the consumer. So that's why I want to go into marketing. So, but within marketing, since I am technically a career changer, well, the Graduate Marketing Association was the best opportunity for me to meet more people who were interested in what I was interested in. And then I was blessed with the opportunity to take a leadership position because I not only am committed to the organization and I'm committed to marketing, so it was a great way that I could merge the two. So that's how that happened. And within that, I've met a lot of great people, including Isala and Gonzalo. So yeah, so that's how.
Thank you. Thanks, David, for breaking the ice. Anyone else? Any other? Okay, Isaac?
Hello. I had a question for Jasmine. So you're the CEO of your own company, right? And when you first started your company, how did you balance like an actual job and like making the money for your own company?
Yeah, so that actually is one of the hardest parts is bootstrapping and also having like a full-time job and trying to start your own company at the same time. So really it was, I had my normal job from 9 to 5 or 9 to 6, 7, and then after that, I just dedicated everything to building my startup. So it was like evenings and weekends. And if you really want to have your own business, you have to want to put in the hours. Like you have to have that grit and that desire. So I mean, it was just doing that and just talking to everyone. Like networking is literally a part of my job because that could be a new customer, that could be a new partner, that can be, you know, the next thing that maybe someone wants to acquire, you know, my company. That would be dope. If anyone knows, anyone who likes to buy us, I would love that. But yeah, like that's really how I balanced it, was just, you know, grinding it out.
Anyone else? Good.
Hi, I'm Veronica. I have 2 questions for you. One, like, where did you go to network with people? And the other, did you reach your concept of the American dream? Like, what is your concept of the American dream?
It's an easy question, right?
Yeah, is that just to the panel?
Exactly.
Is that to the panel? Was that to anyone specific?
If one or two of you could answer that, so that we can take one more question.
I guess I can start by saying that I started networking here in school with all the organizations I could that I thought I was interested in. Since I'm pursuing marketing, I went directly to the Marketing Association. Since I'm Hispanic, I also went to Hispanic events. Since I'm also an engineer, I went to engineering events. So basically, when I just got here, I started going everywhere, trying to meet people everywhere, getting myself out there. I know it's not easy. And first off, when you just get here, you meet so many people, it can get overwhelming, but it has helped me a lot. I've met great people as well. So I would say just go to everything that interests you. So if you're interested in psychology, try to see psychology events. There are a lot of sites, Eventbrite, a bunch of things that you can just go there and look your interest and just go. And if you have to go alone, go alone. And even better, sometimes it's better to go alone. Because if you go with a person, you're gonna be stuck with that person whole night. Because that person is your comfort zone. You're gonna be talking to that person. You won't want to go and meet and approach someone else. If you go alone, you're gonna have to. So try to do it alone till you get there, till you're comfortable enough to just do it. So I would just do that.
I would also add trade shows, things of that nature that, you know, are focused in the industry that you're interested in. Definitely go to those. You know, don't be scared when you go to a trade, or don't hesitate when you go to a trade show. You know, they'll have a table, they'll have people up there. Go talk to them.
Leroy, could you just give an example of like a few that you may have gone to? Like, do you go to ones for food networks or nonprofit?
Yeah, so now I go to a lot of trade show and events that are related around food not-for-profit. So the Good Foods Festival, which is held in March. I'm actually going to one Saturday, which is an event that deals with food and medicine. There are, let's see, there's one that I'm also going to, which is going to be hosted by CLOCK, which is, so I'm still learning all the acronyms, but it's around childhood obesity with Ann Laurie Hospital. And that's about walkable communities. And you think, well, what do walkable communities have to do with food insecurity? Well, they actually have a lot to do with it. And what you'll find out is that you start to go to different events that are related or interrelated, you'll start to see the same people. And as you start to see more of the same people and they see you there more, you start to build a relationship. So when opportunities come up, or there's a chance to sit on a board, or to sit on a panel, or to sit on a committee, your name comes up. And you know, that really helps generate opportunities. So I've only been in, you know, dealing with food insecurity now for 3 years. Some people hold me in high regard about it, and I find that's weird, but I think the key to that is about just connecting with people, getting out there into these trade shows, getting yourself seen, promoting your brand. And the other thing is, when you make a connection at an event, follow up with them. Be the first one to follow up. Follow up in one day, send them an email. Doesn't have to be long, just something to connect. Put them in your contact, and then link to them on LinkedIn so you stay in contact. But definitely you want to be the first one to touch base with them.
We have our last question here.
Good afternoon. My name is Carla Victorino, and my question is, did you feel like when you were changing between areas or even majors throughout your whole experience, like it was the correct thing, or did you feel like there was a struggle?
I think it really depends at where you are in terms of your mindset, as if you're 100% sure or if you're 50-50 with whatever concentration you're in right now. For me, I came into the Quinlan School of Business as an international business major, and I graduated with 2 degrees in international business. I added finance as well as international studies. It's always going to be a struggle because you really have to, you'll push yourself in the sense of balance. With changing concentrations, that's going to require more time of you. That's going to require you to do more soul searching and really understand whether this is something that you want to do or not. But I think one thing that you should keep in mind is that even though you may come out with a concentration in business or a concentration in psychology, I have some of my colleagues who went to school for journalism and they're in the financial services industry. It really depends on how you market yourself and you really showcase your strengths. If you're good at talking to people and you can really convey a message, maybe marketing or communications is something that you can end up with. So it's really a balance.
I'm gonna jump in that one. Since I'm from Panama, people there are really close-minded. So an engineer is just this person that it's in like buildings and making sure everything is going on. So when I said I wanted to do marketing, everyone thought I was crazy. They said I was not going to be able to do it, and since my experience was in operations, everyone thought that I was not going to get a job. And actually, it was a really, really hard time for me to find a job because everyone just wanted marketers. They couldn't understand the merge between both of them. So I had to make a choice. Either I stayed where I was and then it was gonna be harder to get out of there, or just jump into an opportunity that I got. And this opportunity was in a really small company, and going from a big company like Deloitte to a really small company was something that I had to think about. But then again, I thought, what do I really want? Do I want to stay here and do something I don't like, or pursue what I want? My strategy to get where I want as a marketer was to change jobs to a smaller one. It didn't matter if they didn't have brand recognition yet. They will have it sometime. But I gathered the experience I wanted. I fell in love with marketing, and I'm here, and I'm doing what I like. So that was really something that was a struggle, and now people are looking at me a little bit more as a marketer and not as a consultant or as an engineer. Still getting there, but I know I'll get full on there. So it's about making a change, and don't really think on what you're leaving out. Just do it if that's what you really, really want.
Yeah, I would say exactly, like you have to be willing to make that jump, because if you don't make that jump, someone else will, and that could have been your opportunity. At Notre Dame, there was this guy who came back to speak to my marketing class, actually, and he was a chemistry undergrad at Notre Dame, and now he's the marketing director for the Milwaukee Bucks. I was like, how did you go from chemistry to being the marketing director for the Milwaukee Bucks? And he gets to go to all of their games. So, I mean, if there's something that you want, like I came out of accounting, I do nothing. I never did anything with accounting in my actual career. You have to make that transition. So it may be scary, it may be uncomfortable, but you'll be so much happier that you did it, because you'll see like, wow, like this is my passion, this is what I was meant to do. And everything else that you did before that doesn't mean it was a mistake. It was just building blocks to get you to where you were really supposed to be.
I think, so fortune favors the bold, right? So you got to be willing to step out. But I think one thing that kind of everyone has shared here, even with their mentors, is that they might have went to get a degree in one thing and ended up being something like, the marketing major for the Milwaukee Bucks. But at the end of the day, still, I think all of them had to pursue and learn, constantly learn that new craft, right? I mean, if you're a chemistry major, you've got to start reading about marketing just to be relevant, right? So it's all a learned behavior. So even if you aren't good at networking, if you practice, you will get good.
So definitely to add on that, it's definitely a building block, and that's one of the benefits of being in business, is because the higher up that you go within management, having that diversified background actually ends up making you an asset, because especially like in my case and in Asala's case, like, yeah, we may go up from a marketing standpoint, but that means we understand what it takes from an operational standpoint. So when marketing tries to develop a new product and marketing is like, well, we have a ship to trade date, we've got a launch date, but operations is saying, no, it's going to take us another 3 months. We understand that. We know what that means. So we can effectively communicate that and then build stronger relationships. So sometimes that is the benefit of having a diversified career or a diversified educational background. So you just have to learn how to build on that to make it most effective for you.
Well, we've talked about practicing networking. So if the panel can be available for a few minutes afterwards, and if any students did not have the opportunity to ask a question, or if you have a resume and you'd like to interview for a job right now with one of our panelists, this is an opportunity for you to speak with them. But in the meantime, I just want to say many thanks for your time, for sharing best practices, and for your enthusiasm for our students and what we're doing at Arrupe College. So please join me in thanking our panel. Thanks.